seeing that it's 6:05, I'm going to go ahead and call the September 19, 2016 Franklin City Council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnett?
Present.
Mr. Austin? Mr. Abbott?
Here.
Mr. Alt? Mr. Akers?
Here.
Mr. Fox?
Here.
Mr. Woods?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Thank you, ma'am. Invocation and pledge, if you would please, Mr. Wertz.
Bow our head. Father, be with this city as we do your work. Be with our city employees who perform the functions to make us a successful city. Be with our fire and police as they protect us and the people in our community. Be with our military around the world who allow us the freedom to live in this great country. And make this council to have good decisions with all council business. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcements, public comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Never pass on an opportunity to toot our horn as a city, so I wanted to share two very neat awards that we've received. Joanna Myers attended recently the Indiana Association for Floodplain and Stormwater Management and received an award with her name, as well as the City of Franklin Planning and Engineering Department on it for excellent strides in floodplain management. We were not aware we were even nominated, so that's quite a neat thing. I also have a certificate that notifies us of our recent award for the Community Crossings Grant Program, which was a new funding opportunity for road work across the state of Indiana. The City of Franklin achieved or was awarded the maximum amount possible, $1 million. We applied for that via several different projects. We applied for the 2016 paving mill and overlay program. We applied for the reconstruction of Wayne Street, and we applied for a full depth reclamation project to be performed on Central and Center, and we achieved all. So we will probably in November, give or take, be receiving a $1 million reimbursement for all of that work, a lot of which is either in process or already done. So, thank you.
Great job. Thank you. Any other announcements, public comments? Hearing none, moving to the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve minutes from August 15th.
Second.
The motion by Barnett, second by Abbott. All those in favor?
Aye. I abstain.
Show the record reflect Mr. Akers abstained.
I wasn't here last week. Just for minutes.
Old business.
Make a motion to read all under old business by title only. Second.
Motion by Barnett, second by Abbott. All those in favor?
Aye.
These are all set for public hearing for this evening. The first item is Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 1610. The City of Franklin, Indiana Budgetary Ordinance fixing and authorizing the payment of certain salaries of appointed officers and employees for year 2017. This is specifically for the civil city. This was introduced to you a month or so ago at the last meeting. Obviously, we didn't have one a couple weeks ago due to the holiday, but it was presented and introduced to you all at that time. Open up for any public comments or any discussion with council members.
What we're looking at is this is not actually the ordinance, right? This is the worksheet. Is that correct, or is this the motion?
No, that's the ordinance.
Okay.
If it says civil city, that's the ordinance.
Okay. And for public hearing, tonight, we're not voting on this, right? There was discussion and
Correct. Adoption would be the next meeting, first meeting in October.
The deadline for the budgets for the municipalities is November 1st, is that right?
Correct.
I would like to say first, public comment.
Is there anyone from the public that wants to?
To the Mr. Mayor and the department heads, I think you guys have put together a very comprehensive budget, well within the 4% change. Looks like you all did a very fine job. Looks good to me.
I agree with that. I'm comfortable with the budget as presented. I think that the folks that are working for our city are obviously doing a great job. And so I'm good with that.
One of the things I have, the last couple of weeks, talked to a few, and I talked to the mayor last week. And we always discuss about the low paperwork is another city doing it is right now. I'd like to see 5% of that, and I feel we'll cut it off like somewhere in the 30s, from 5%. Other people have that 3, maybe 3, 2, and 5, 3, 1, or even just 5 and 3. If it, if we're serious about helping a little bit, maybe I should use the word low rank. But our lower paid workers, I'm talking about a little bit more on that hard time. And that's still feasible for our city to do. It's not the right thing.
I agree with the mayor's proposal, the 3%, although not all of it is 3%. And we do need a way to bring this into line. And in the private sector, people are reviewed on their individual performance. And I know in the city, it's a little bit more unique. And I recall last year we addressed the non-elected officials a little bit different to bring those wages into compliance. And when I looked at cost of living and the inflation index, I have a little bit of a problem just blanketing 4% or 3% or 2%. But I can live with the 3% that you recommended, with the exception of the elected officials.
And if we, Richard, would you, I guess, give an explanation of why you're not comfortable with that for the public officials, or elected officials?
Last year, our elected officials, we went and did a analysis of surrounding communities of size 3 cities and tried to get our wages up into the mean wage level for those people, with the thought that we would readjust in the future. And that's kind of my thought process. I think the mayor has done a great job, and Jane and our city judge. And I guess I also looked at the council members. I mean, we put in our time and effort, but the people that work for us are the real nuts and bolts of our community. And I looked at that again, and I think that I don't want it to be that those people never get another increase. But I do think it was worthy of last year. We did make an exception and raised it up. I believe it was quite a discussion. And if it is the 3%, then that's the way it should be.
And if I'm not mistaken, those adjustments were made because in the past, there have been a number of years where those folks had not received any increases, and we were bringing those people into where they should be paid. And I guess I have a problem if we say that we're not going to give the elected officials any increase going forward. We just, to me, we take a little bit of a step backwards from what we tried to increase last year, tried to do last year. If you're asking me about common council increase, I don't care. I mean, I really don't. I mean, honestly, I do this because I wanted to do it. So That's not having to do with from the mayor and clerk treasurer and the city judge and those folks. I think we need to keep those in step as we go along. We made that adjustment last year to get them to where they needed to be.
Keith, may I say something?
Sure.
I agree with Richard, and here's why. It's not that we didn't give elected officials compensation for a lot of years. Those same years, I've been on the council, I think, right at 8 years now, close to it. We didn't give anybody raises for several years. So it wasn't just the elected officials, and we were getting stipends that the elected officials did not take. So with that being said, I guess that's when we thought we were getting caught up last year to get caught up. And whenever I look at the tie-in to what Joe Adams saying, I think the 3% is good. We talked about, everybody here is, most of your employees, I'd say 90%. You've heard us talk about our street department, I think, and I've said this before, I'm not tooting a new horn. They're underpaid for what they do. And you've said it, I know, over the last 4 years, and we just keep saying it and staying the same. And that's why I'm good with 5% with them and 3% with everybody else. But sooner or later, we are a growing community. We're gonna have to get some, I know we need IT people, we need HR people, and sooner or later, we keep getting money coming in and we keep paying it out. Sooner or later, we're gonna have to look at adding employees. I know our street department, they can use employees. And every year we say we're gonna address it, we don't address it. So I know I'm getting long-winded here, but that's where I stand. I'm the same way, 3% for everybody. If we could look at doing something again, we say this every year to our lower paid, hard-working, not just the street department, there's cemetery, there's some low paid in the parks department. These guys get out there and bust their butts every single day. And as we give a 3% to the higher paid people, the spread keeps getting farther. It's like if somebody's getting a $2,500 raise, and somebody's getting a $1,500 raise, or whatever that fee is, the spread keeps getting farther and farther away. So I know a supervisor or people that's been here a long time, you work hard, you deserve to make more than the guy that starts out on the bottom. But sooner or later, you gotta close that gap. And that is good business management. It's not a bad business management. So that's just my thoughts. That's where I'm at. And I think I've said enough, and that's probably all I'm gonna say.
I could just chime in real quick. As I mentioned about performance reviews, to me, after we get done here for this budget here, why can't the department heads put together, meets standards and give you examples? So that when they're counseling and talking to their, to the worker, they know what it takes to meet the standards, what it takes to exceed the standards, and what it takes to excel. So you could have 3 levels, but there's nothing wrong with meeting the standards that you do in your job. You can have 2 examples on what it's like to not, which can actually have you removed. I don't know the processes if you guys got to counsel every 3 months on a person's, duty or performance in the department they work in. But that's something like that you could look at, quarterly counseling or, every 6 months you counsel let the person know where they stand and did they meet the standards at all, But you have that individual too to keep track of what they've done throughout the year. So when they're sitting down talking with that performance review, that they can say, hey, listen, you forgot about this, I did this, it was outstanding, got a lot of kudos from the mayor, council people, just the citizens I was working on. So that's something to consider too when performance review, because that would take the, Mr. Altman here, but he said put the department heads in a tough position, when it came to performance reviews. And I think the reason why is because there was no example of that in a job description on what it took to meet those standards, just to meet the standards, how to excel or how to, be exceptional. That's something to consider right there if we're moving to that.
Well, and I think one of the things that has been discussed and that I would be wholly in favor, a couple of things, I guess. Steve, going back to your comment, I would be in favor of some form of a stipend, or whatever you call it. At this point, maybe we have a group of people that would potentially make, instead of 3%, we give them 5%. I would probably support. The other part of it is that I think, and based on discussions and still learning about how this process goes on, you know, the private sector and public sector are obviously very different. Performance review sounds like a very difficult process for us to accomplish, but maybe there's some way that we can put incentives out there to employees, all employees, that if you do this, you get this. And I know with fire, I think there's some of that where we got a paramedic, you go get your paramedics, you're gonna make more money. And that may be, and I had a discussion with the department head today, and that department may be difficult to accomplish something like that, I don't know, so we may be still just talking. But I think that there are things that we just need to look at, and maybe try to make it in some different form as we go forward.
Yeah, because I wish we had this, we had a lot of really short heats this summer. We could have had this discussion along the way. And, you know, maybe had, you know, Joe did a heck of a job there with the budget there, absolutely, on that. And I know we're trying to adjust right now, but it would have been nice if we just took 10, 15, 20 minutes, you know, this past summer, because we knew the budget was coming up, and have this discussion, you know. So we're not trying to do this all at once.
I totally agree, Mr. Evan. We need to look at this earlier and try to come up with a way to get more money for our employees, because I think, to Mr. Barnett's point, everybody's underpaid in the city, my personal opinion. I think all of our employees do a hell of a job and are underpaid for what they do. That being said, I don't really like the bridging the gap approach either. Supervisors do more work, they have responsibilities above and beyond the lower paid laborers, but I don't see how bridging the gap is fair to those upper level employees either. I do like a performance review. I think everybody should have one, including us up here. And we do, it's called election.
Every 4 years.
Yeah, maybe it needs to be a yearly thing. That was a joke, that would be insane, but, you know, Travis has gone above and beyond and gotten a ton of money in the past year in forms of grants that I just don't feel comfortable not giving him a decent bump in pay, just a cost of living. Just because he happens to be a department head, or just because he happens to be one of the higher paid employees. I just can't swallow that.
Well, see, on cost of living as a military retiree, or even the Social Security recipients, the EBT rate this year.
Yeah, I agree. But, you know, based on what I'm hearing, at least what I'm reading, our revenues based on this budget are going to be, are going to exceed our expenditures, and we're still going to put some back for a later time. So I'd like to give everybody 5%, to be honest with you. I don't think that's fiscally responsible at this time, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But, you know, I think what the mayor did here with the department heads is a very concise and responsible way to approach this year. Maybe we can do an incentive package. I know, I mean, it'll be difficult for some people to get a certificate that would even be remotely related to their job, or new, whatever initials behind their name would be. But if there's some way that the department heads can think of a better way to give their people more money, come with us with ideas over the year, we can discuss it on even by a department basis. It doesn't always have to be the same. Police and fire are separate. The way we reevaluate all of our employees doesn't have to be the same. They have different jobs. They should be evaluated different. But I can't swallow just because one person gets paid more, not giving them the credit that they deserve.
You get paid more too, to manage.
I agree. So that's my piece.
Yep. The budget and the salary ordinance is in front of you. The budget and the salary ordinance that I'm going to propose. Do with it as you will. But like I said, I had to voice my concerns, my opinion in an email last night to you all. Just to put things in perspective, we're talking about eliminating any salary increases for elected officials, which you all up here are elected officials, including myself and Ms. Rhodes, which obviously makes this a little bit more complicated and difficult to talk about. But put this in perspective, you're talking about eliminating a 3% raise for a city councilman or woman, which equates to $208.53. That's what we're talking about. And if you look at the information I provided you last night, and if you haven't, I encourage you to do so. If you don't have access to the email that I sent it to, please let me know and I'll print it off or do whatever. A lot of correspondence has gone back and forth as recently as this afternoon with Jeff Peters, our financial consultant. His very conservative revenue estimates for 2017 would show us, based on this budget, would show us having a budget surplus of $580,000 of revenue coming in that is unappropriated in this budget across the board. That's civil, NVH, and parks included in all those. So, like I said, it's complicated to sit up here and talk about your own salary and to hear some of the arguments for and against. But I'll just be completely honest with you because it is a position. It's not me. There may be another mayor here in 3 years, maybe another mayor here in 7 years. I don't know. But we did that for a reason last year. You all did it, Mr. Works. I believe it was your recommendation that we do that based on what our peers and other communities are being paid. Because of the dereliction of duty from this board, this council over the years leading up to it, and not taking care of those positions, landed all of us on the front page of the Daily Journal, which makes it even more uncomfortable that the mayor gets a 9% raise. I didn't ask for that. I'm just asking that you keep us in line with where we've been. So going forward, we don't ever have to do one of those corrections again, whether it's Joe McGinnis or it's Joe Citizen as your mayor. And it's not just me. It's the clerk treasurer, it's the judge, it's also the council members.
Well, to your point, Mayor, in 2009, when the city council, the mayor, the treasurer got a raise, I think that was the first time in almost 10 years.
Yeah.
It was what?
So I went from 2009 to 2016. Before there was a.
Which was always here, because he could give it more precise, because I got council in 2006. And my salary changes to stay the same all the time. And again, I do this because I love doing it. But I do understand, love the position.
One of the things, Mayor, approximately 5 weeks ago, you mentioned that our assessed valuation was probably going to come in lower, which is something that I saw in your email. But a few weeks ago, we talked about that it could be lower because the state was doing something and could affect us.
No, sorry, I just want to correct before we move on with that statement. I have not said that our assessed value would be lower. I actually said our assessed value, my guesstimation would be about 3.5 to 4.5% increase for 17 over 16. And I think a lot of those AV letters and those things have gone out to many homeowners and property owners in Franklin, because I've heard from them that their AV has gone up, which is obviously our goal, is to increase the value of properties within our community. I think the comment you heard me talk about was from the Department of Local Government Finance. They made a significant error in predicting our circuit breaker loss, which is the amount of dollars lost in general property tax collections due to the tax caps, the 1%, 2%, and 3% respectively. So, in noticing that we went from about $1.5 million to $2 million loss, which is what we were braced to take on, and that's fine, that's what we've taken on the last few years. It was nearly $6 million, and of course that raised the red flag and caused some concern, and it was actually brought to my attention by our superintendent, school superintendent, Dr. Clendenning, because theirs was like 14 or 15 million, which is 5 times what they were prepared for. So, in doing it took all of about 20-minute investigation to discover with the DOGF that there were some significant errors in their calculation. They owned up to that. They have since removed those worksheets from their website and accepted the fact that there was a mistake. They will probably not produce any new documents for us before October 2nd or 3rd, whenever our next meeting is. However, they have provided us with our max levy worksheet, which you can take a look at that. It will show property tax collections growing in 2017 over 16 to the tune of about $800,000. That does not take into account our local option income tax, financial institution various other taxes that we run. So I have zero concern on the circuit breaker, the original circuit breaker worksheet. I'm confident in Mr. Peters and his numbers that he has provided to us, much more than I am the POGF. And so I'm confident in the calculations. He has had our budget for weeks, not too long after you all received it. He has had it and has given it his blessing and said that we will be ballpark $580,000 in surplus based off of this budget.
Okay, just for the record too, you said the council's $200 some dollars a year,
208.
208, the mayor's what?
It's all total with elected officials combined, it's about $6,900.
Okay, the mayor's 3,000, is that correct? And the clerk treasurer's what, 2,600?
It's,
It just be 3%.
Okay.
mayor's 2,300. Clerk treasurer is 1,980. This is gonna be a ballpark on the judge.
Just to, that judge did not get anything other than 3% for the
Yeah.
the whole time I've been there, so.
So mayor's 2,300, clerk treasurer's 1,980, judge is ballpark of 1,100. On 1,150. So council's 208, obviously times 7, which is 1,400, 14,000.
It's not a big number.
I guess going back to reiterate what Joe's saying, I mean, as far as, and it's always been my belief, it is my belief, that, you know, going forward, I mean, this town continues to grow, and it will continue to grow. And this is a big business. I mean, I think we're talking about a $22 million budget. If you take a $22 million budget in a private sector, and I keep bringing that up, but if you take that in the private sector, your CEO makes $80,000? No way. No way. So, and I understand it's different, but, I mean, and you got your financial officer making $67,900. No way. Doesn't happen. And so, you know, and Joe's right, in 3 years from now, or 7 years, whatever he decides, there will be somebody else. And if we don't have this where we get qualified people, and I'll take Joe's age, that are going to pause their careers to be a mayor, or it's worthwhile for them to be a mayor, then to me, we shortchange ourselves. And that's really where, I guess I'm going, where I think we need to keep this moving forward.
And I get your point, and point being, I've said this before about the laborers at the street department. There's no way that those people are going to work at my place, because our lowest paid guy is like $45,000 a year doing the job they do. So it's in perspective. That's just my point. It's all the same perspective. So this is some of our civic duty. That's why we signed up for it. We knew what it paid when we signed up. And we're not the lowest paid city with elected officials. We're not the highest. We're not in the middle. So I just have a question. If you vote no on the elected official ordinance, that doesn't do anything else to the rest of the budget, right? Just curious. I'm not saying I'm voting no or not. I'm just saying, if a person votes no, what does that do? If you vote no for the elected official to all separate ordinances, does that affect the rest of it?
Well, there's no official action. Now, remember, the council members can reduce, they cannot increase.
Right. But I guess that's not what I mean. There's a different ordinances on here, it's elected.
Each ordinance will be voted on separately.
Correct. So that ordinance, if say someone votes no on the elected official ordinance, it does not affect the rest of the budget.
No, but that's why we take
That's
a
why they're
vote.
separated out.
That's why we take a vote on the salary ordinance first, because if all the salary ordinances pass, whether you vote for it or not, then you get that as a budget, It's full.
It's already gone. But they are separated out, and it's a good point of order, because I think the discussion has been collectively, we have to have a public hearing on every single one of these, but I think the discussion is generally just overall, because they are interrelated. But, and then what happens if there is no capacity, it goes to the previous year budget.
Yeah.
It goes to the previous year's budget.
So I have questions, but I also have, we do this every year. And let's not get ourselves anymore. We do this every year, and I'm sure you probably did with Mayor Paris and Mayor Jones Matthews, and we just continue to do this. And so I'm open for conversation. I'm open for suggestions. I'm open for any of this. I offered up a suggestion a few weeks ago when I sent out the salary surveys, and didn't hear any response. And so I'm open for anything. Keep in mind, I'm all about performance-based as well. The concept is great. We've already determined, we've already said that there's no way you can make that work when police is fired. And so that's about 97, 98 of your employees, which is about 166 today. As it stands today. So we're really talking about ballpark 70 employees for performance reviews. And making that determination on who's going to get paid more. So,
But when I heard Walt Joe's, you said, here's our budget, that's what I'm presenting, take it or leave it.
that is what I present. It's up to you.
But you just said I would take some, we talked about it, but every year it's the same thing, here's my budget, take it or leave it, we never talk about it.
I've asked for suggestions though every year, every summer before I start the budget conversation. I say, does anybody have any input? Does anybody have any suggestions? And nobody says it.
Okay, and I'm not trying to pick a fight, Mayor, you know, I think the world of you, you do a great job. I have tried to talk about our lower paid people for the last several years, and it goes on deaf ears. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not trying to pick a fight. I know you walked away from here mad at me, but that's okay. We'll get over it.
I think you've learned a lot about me in the last few years, Mr. Bryant. My skin has gotten much thicker maybe because I do deal with some of the issues.
You deal with me, right? I
But I will tell you that I have a wife and 2 children at home that are much more important than that. And so when I get home, I'm no longer upset with anything that goes on in this council chambers. So I will say though that this is really the first year I've heard really hard push to increase lower paid employees. So the email that I saw or heard and read is showing a 5.310% increase. I think that is very extremely short-sighted. I think in my reply it was poor business.
But that didn't come up.
But if you're going to take an individual who makes X amount of dollars and say, because they're making more than anyone else, they deserve 0% raise, and someone that is a general laborer, I'm not saying they don't deserve 5, but how can you justify giving somebody a 5% raise when you have somebody that is responsible, and I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about other people, but are responsible for millions of dollars of infrastructure, or millions of dollars of grant dollars, or millions of dollars of redevelopment commission and Franklin Development Corporation dollars. I don't understand how we can ever justify that. And that's why I cannot support it. I'm not saying at all that people that work in the street department don't deserve the 5%. I just don't know how they're 5% more important than someone that's dealing with millions upon millions of
Even our
dollars.
street department head is the lowest paid department head we got.
And that is a structure, no, we can wrong, by the way.
It's what it looks like on the budget.
It has a cookie utility. Ms. Phillips, unfortunately, is the bottom of that.
Okay, but he is grossly underpaid also. For a department head, that's what I'm talking about.
For a position, probably a little bit underpaid. For the person, it is a completely different pay structure due to the fact that it is a part-time position right now.
Yeah, but that doesn't reflect what's in the ordinance, part-time. The ordinance is for full-time, although he does get paid part-time.
It's paid out of a full-time line item.
Yes, but the line item is.
About half of what that line item actually reflects.
I know what I'm saying is that line item is a low paying department, and it doesn't matter. I think
Yeah,
it's
roughly.
he's like 62,000, other
Right.
department heads are 68,000. that goes right in line with the department head, right on down to the people, and everything caught up in the street department. That is my whole thing, and that's what we've talked about for several years with the street department. And I think we need more people on the street department. We've worked on getting more police, and I pushed for that, and we still need more police. But our street department needs some help. And it's obviously not gonna happen this year, so I said, well, I'll go out and be quiet, so I need to be quiet.
No, look, here's the thing, I have no problem, if we're gonna help out the street department, keep in mind, there are folks who work at the parks department, work at the cemetery, work at the wastewater treatment plant, that are also laborers. It is very difficult, though, to differentiate, when we look at the street department, we look at their job description as street department, or, I'm sorry, senior street maintenance worker and street maintenance worker. The difference to get that bump up is 5 years of service. So you have some of these folks that are senior maintenance workers that are working the, picking up brush, and some of them are actually running the concrete crew. So doing evaluations and reviewing those folks, it's unfortunately, it's two totally different people, and two totally different descriptions. But, if we're gonna help out, if we're gonna support laborers, I strongly urge that we don't just like everyone else in doing so.
I'm not proposing so.
We have a $580,000.
Why are they always looking at the lawyer? I know where it's coming from. We do need,
We ready to
sir,
adjourn yet?
no, we're not, this is where I do, have to step in, we do need to make sure we call every one of these ordinances up for public hearing.
So the first one, Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 1610, a City of Franklin, Indiana budgetary ordinance fixing and authorizing the payment of certain salaries of appointed officers and employees for year 2017 civil city. Do we have anybody from the public who wants to jump in? Hold on just a second. Does anybody from the public have any comments in regards to this? Yes, sir. Mr. Watts?
Sure, please.
If you don't mind, please, so we can hear it on the
On the
recording.
record.
Al Watts, Franklin resident in Johnson County for 35 years. Travis has done a great job with the city team. Great. You've done a great job. That's your job. Street department deserves a whole lot better than what they're getting. That's all I can say.
Any other public comments from anyone? Hearing none. Close the public comment. Did you have something, Mr. Woods?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Oh, we can't. No, these are just
Okay.
introductions.
All
and then
we
public
got
hearings.
is here.
The budgetaries have to go for additional readings.
Next one is Common Council, this similar in line here, this one's for the utility. Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 1611, the City of Franklin, Indiana budgetary ordinance fixing and authorizing the payment of certain salaries of appointed officers and employees for year 2017 sewer utility. Any public comments? Questions? Hearing none, close the public comment. Next is Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 1612, the City of Franklin, Indiana budgetary ordinance fixing annual salaries and providing compensation for all elected officials for year 2017. Any public comments? Questions? Hearing none, we'll close the public comment section. Next is Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 1613, budgetary appropriation and tax rate ordinance for year 2017. So this is the budget as a whole. This is all 1, 2, 3, and 4 series. If we like that discussion, we can just have it.
I mean, at least to run salaries, but.
Right. But if anybody has any questions or comments, 2, 3, or 400 series, or if we want to continue on the salary, I don't care. We can do that. You won't see too much change, particularly in the 2, 3, and 400 series. There's the typical increases along the line for utilities and those kind of things for all the different buildings and maintenance of the buildings. And outside of that, I don't think there's a whole lot. There's certain office supplies, of course, increases, and we take into account all of those. Mr. Owner's always asking for more pool chemicals, so we always increase those kind of things.
He's always asking for stuff. I think that's one of bonds you bet on.
Same allotment for, you know, larger capital purchases, police cars, those kind of things. I will bring it to attention, it is not in the budget, and with the way that we're doing things, I prefer it not to be in the budget. At the Board of Works meeting an hour or so ago, we approved the contract with KME to go ahead and start building the new fire engine for the fire department. What are we talking, 12 months, 10 months? Yeah, so we're talking 10, 12 months for build and then payment. So I will be coming back to you in short order, asking for some additional appropriations out of our cash reserves to help pay for that. Also going to be, and I talked to some of the board, some of the redevelopment commission members, Mr. Worth being one of them, Mr. Fox, to exercise the capital fund within the redevelopment commission coffers to assist and pay for half or so of the fire engine, since it does service TIP districts and downtown, which is a TIP allocation area. So it is not a budget. Large purchases like that, if we're not going to do them annually, then I would suggest that we not ever put them in the budget unless you start bonding, and then that's a totally different subject. But cash reserves are in good shape, and we're perfect.
I think it was a well-constructed budget, and I think our department heads delivered a lot of credit in the mayor and clerk treasurer for putting it together, because it is a sound budget.
Thanks.
That's good news on a fire apparatus. Well,
So you can close the public hearing on that last
I
time.
haven't been at a public hearing on the actual budget.
You did, you said we could talk about it.
Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. And move into new business.
Make a motion to read all of the new business by title only. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. First item is Common Council Budgetary Resolution number 1606, budgetary resolution authorizing a transfer from Parks 300 services to Parks 200 supplies in an amount of $20,000. Mr. Order.
Good evening. This is a request, basically not asking for additional money, just to move money from different accounts. We want to move $20,000 because we want to do some projects on our own instead of hiring somebody out to do it. To give you an example, is this fall we want to paint the bottom of the swimming pool. We normally do that in the spring. We're going to do it in the fall this year to let it have more time to cure. To do that, I have to buy the supplies to do that. So that's what this is, to move that money.
We can vote on this tonight,
Yeah.
right? So it's-
Yes.
Thank you, Councilman. Any of the budgetary resolutions that is simply transferring funds within their line items, you may pass tonight. There is one, I believe, from my recollection, additional appropriation, and that is
Move to approve Common Council Budgetary Resolution number 1606.
Second.
Motion by Hager, second by Adam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is budgetary resolution 1607 and Common Council budgetary resolution authorizing a transfer from City Hall 300 services to City Hall 200 supplies. Excuse me. This is as we're getting closer and closer to the end of the year, we are a few $100 short, or will be a few $100 short in our 200 series supplies. And so this is just requesting moving that $500 from services over to supplies. Goes through.
Move to approve Budgetary Resolution 1607. Second.
Motion by Hager, second by Fox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 1614, additional appropriation for park infrastructure, capital, park impact fees in the amount of $14,374. Before Mr. Order starts, this is an ordinance, so this will be introduction. You can vote on it in October.
Just to give you a quick background, this is park impact fees, so again, it's money that has been collected over the year, this past year. The appropriation every year starts basically with what we end the year with last year, is what we start with this year. In the meantime, we have collected $14,374 in the meantime. What we're asking is to appropriate that additional money that we have collected, and we're going to use that for the completion of the shelter at Blue Heron Park.
Nice little shelter.
It is. And just as a reminder, this is very restricted money that can only be spent for very specific things, and the shelter is one of those things.
So again, this is an introduction. I know Mr. Warner's here, so if you have any questions or comments beyond Ms. Rader's comment.
Chip, didn't we pass, didn't the council pass the park impact fee ordinance just?
Very beginning of this year.
And that's one of the restrictions, it's
It is.
for the next, what we can use this.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
I have a question on the agenda item here on this next one. We're transferring appropriations. Is that what that says?
Yeah. So this is Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 1615. Transfer appropriations from Board of Works and employment compensation to cemetery part-time staff in the amount of $18,000. So in Board of Works, we have $25,000 or so appropriated every year to cover any unemployment and unemployment claims. Typically that goes unused or very seldom used. And so the request would be is to shift those dollars over to cemetery part-time to assist Mr. Warner and Mr. Bundy and
So it's going from department to department instead of interdepartmental?
technically, yes.
Gotcha.
It's the different appropriation.
Yeah, so I just was curious about that name.
Yes, that's why.
And again, this is just for introduction. This will be in front of you for a vote in a couple weeks.
Chip, is this additional cost for this year?
It is. This is a unique situation at the cemetery where we only budget a certain amount of money at the cemetery, and it's all going to be dictated on weather. If it rains a lot, we don't spend as much. If it rains a lot and it gets sunny a lot and the grass grows a lot, they obviously work more. That appropriation is almost out of money based on the weather we had this year. So our options are, I can lay all those people off and they can file unemployment and we pay them that money anyway out of that line item. Or I keep them, we transfer the money and we get the work, we actually get people to do the work instead of them filing unemployment. Does that make sense?
Chip, do you need this money transfer? Is time of the essence here? I mean, do you have money to pay?
No, we do until we get this done, yeah.
And it's an appropriation, we could do it anyway.
Could bypass that.
I will tell you that the mayor and I have this discussion every year at budget time. Well, should we just put this money in there or not? And we always decide not to, because there's going to be a year that we know we need to do this. So there's no reason to put it in there if we don't need to. But I may come back to you this time of year, some years, and say, I didn't do that last year, if you recall. This is the first time you'll hear this from me for a while. But it just depends on if we can do it or not. So.
In order to pass, we would have to. We don't have time to do it. Our checks will bounce. That will be good.
Next is Common Council Ordinance 1610, an ordinance creating and authorizing the use of Rowing Run Grant Fund. Mr. Rhodes?
Yes, we are, we started getting invoices concerning the Roaring Run. And so we need to, create a fund specifically for that money, the grant money that we got, to go into that fund to be able to pay bills.
And you'll recall, we have to have specific, we have to be able to specifically designate to our treasurer where she should put all those funds in account when we will, the bills get paid out of that and the funds go in.
That's not one of those lines that can only be used that specific.
That's
Right.
exactly, it's almost akin to a park impact fee, we want to use for certain things related to that grant, that is correct.
Again, ordinance, so it's for introduction. We'll see it again in a couple weeks. No other business. Councilmember comments?
Good item today.
Thank you.
Congratulations. There is an RDC meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. A big agenda and a lot of things. Mayor, could I reiterate the comment I made at the beginning of the board?
Oh, yeah.
I was asked by several of my constituents in my district and several outside to comment on semi truck traffic in downtown Franklin. They feel it appears we still have a problem with semi trucks driving or attempting to drive through the downtown area. With all the construction over the next 3 years, it will be very difficult. Several semis are attempting to drive through the parking lots downtown, driving down Monroe Street and through the parking lot, which is a very difficult task onto Jefferson Street. Also, they're driving down King Street. I do not want to single out the police department. They do a fantastic job for our city. But we think the mayor and the board of works should address these issues and attempt to find a solution. Better signage would be a help. I was asked by several people to bring that up at the council and at the board of works meeting tonight. So, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Any other comments? No? Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Akers, second by Wertz. All those in favor?
Aye.